All right. Welcome to Say Something Sessions. In this series of interviews, we explore the benefits of electric school buses and their potential impact on air quality, health inequities, accessibility, and economic growth today. Today, we'll be hearing stories from individuals who've been disproportionately affected by environmental racism and the lack of investment in public transit. Join us as we delve into the experiences and aspirations for a better future. With us today, we have Marta. Marta, please introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Marta Johnson. I'm a parent and caregiver organizer in Grand Rapids. I've been working on buses with GRPS specifically, but then also looking at how we can intersect better health outcomes, better environmental outcomes, and business growth that help our kids get to school better without so many health complications. So I have a bit of experience with this, but happy to weigh in with anything.
Cool, thanks, Marta. Tell us about your experience with health inequities resulting from exposure to poor air quality, pollution, and environmental hazards in your community.
So in our community here in Grand Rapids, we know that areas that are like formerly redlined districts disproportionately experience pollution. 49507 is a clear example of that. But we also know that, even beyond, some industrial activities near schools when they're close to highways, which is just a tremendous output of exhaust that has particulate matter. That's particularly an issue for these schools because that can actually permeate buildings. And so even though there was a certain amount of filters put in schools, students were still passing out because of air quality issues in GRPS this year. So that's why I'm so passionate about improving air quality, because it does tend to impact areas that have been underinvested in and actually have this structural history of racism and inequity that they're still working to overcome.
Thank you. How do you see electric school buses addressing some of the health disparities and environmental concerns in your community?
Well, I think there are two ways that come to mind immediately. One is when you're actually in school buses now, diesel school buses, there is particulate matter that's kicked back into the bus. So people that are riding school buses actually are immediately impacted by this, in addition to where the school buses are riding through, which, we have a clear reliance on needing public transit and transit services to connect students to schools, especially as we see more and more neighborhood schools shutting down. Students really need this because you have parents that are working, all sorts of shifts or experiencing transportation issues. They really need these school buses to deliver them to school. So I think, in being able to transition to clean energy electric buses, that will reduce the exposure for students that tend to, already get high concentrations in these areas of environmental hazards. And you can see that with even asthma rates skyrocketing in these areas. So if you can remove some of these triggers for these students that already are struggling with asthma, they will have fewer asthma triggers and asthma attacks, as well as in school. If we can, transition this huge output of exhaust and instead have it be a zero exhaust system, you don't have as much particulates being added to the communities as the school buses come through them as well. So I see it as a double win there. And they're also more affordable. So hopefully we can invest more in paying bus drivers more, which is just another equity layer that I think about sometimes.
Thanks. That's a perfect segue into the next question. We're talking about accessibility and equity. In what ways do you believe electric school buses can improve accessibility and promote equity within your community?
Yeah, one is they cost less, so hopefully we can invest more in the human capital to drive more school buses over time, and invest also in other resources that our schools and students need, either mental health services, either, having more, in GRPS, for example, having more investments for athletics and other things that enrich our lives outside of just, the math and, reading, writing, and arithmetic and all of those things. Having those extra resources is really important. And I think it just shows that you're valuing the community by investing and making this transition, because it's just like playgrounds, kind of like, we're not going around with old technology that we know is harming us. We're investing in our future, and we're investing in our kids now and showing them you're worth this, and we're invested in a cleaner future for you.
Thank you. And last question, we'll talk about what you kind of touched on, some of the economic impacts. How do you envision electric school buses contributing to the economic growth and just the overall well-being of your community?
Yeah, I could see if we were if we were better at being early adopters, I should say. I know we have some adoption happening in Michigan already, thanks to some agreements between leaders in Lansing and different school districts. But I think if we really invested in this and we could become, leaders in innovation around improving even the sustainability around battery technology with buses or other transit solutions, I think that could really help the whole world improve our environmental impact, and I think it could grow a lot of jobs that actually are linked to creating a brighter future, rather than growing jobs that are linked to oil tunnels or pollution intensive and outdated methods of building our roads. That I think that showing that we can make those investments and those changes will really help transform how our economy can move forward. So I think it's an important switch to make, and it will create a lot more jobs than pollution. I think there's so much data on this that you can create more higher paying jobs when you're transitioning to higher level technologies, which electrification is certainly the future, not diesel powered anything.
All right, thank you, Marta. Thanks for sharing your powerful insights. Your story reminds us of the urgent need to address environmental racism and invest in sustainable solutions like electric school buses. Thanks again.
My pleasure, thanks.